Hello, it's Rebecca Jensen with breaking news here on Jorvik News Channel. Today, there's an enormous rescue underway at one of the largest farms in the system. Recently, police and the neighbors of this farm have been reaching out to other rescue associations to come in and interfere with the abuse happening. This is a video of Dew's farm just last week, taken secretly by one of the visitors. Over 56 horses were confiscated by South Hoof Rescue in emaciated, abused, and neglected condition, many of them without fresh food or water for days, and many of them in need of urgent care or surgeries in order to survive. Currently, South Hoof Rescue is figuring out what they want to do with these horses and how they're going to be bringing them out in the foster care system, but there's lots of work to be gone underway in the rehabilitation of many of these abused horses. This is Rebecca Jensen's report with the latest news on this rescue. That's a news report from 4 years ago, and at the time I was still the owner of SEC. Being the owner of a major stable, it's important you reach out to these rescues to see what you can do. So I did just that. Sending an email to South Hoof Rescue, I asked what the team could do, possibly donate a couple hours of our time to help them out with cleaning horses, or possibly even donate some blankets or food and feed to the stable in general. That's not how it turned out though. A month later, I came home with one of the cutest ponies I've ever seen, Pepper. Pepper was part of that 56-horse rescue and was in extreme condition when he came to our stable. We had to make sure to groom him down and clean him up because the rescue didn't have time to give him full attention and care. Thus, it was our job to clip his mane, make sure he was groomed and was feeling okay, so we had many vet visits for the next couple days. His before versus after pictures still shock many to this day, and he looks so much better after we gave him a cleaning. We let him out in his stall in the pasture, gave him a little bit of food, and let him rest around for just the next week or two, so that he could acclimate to being around humans in general, and being cared for by the humans. After a couple weeks or so, it was time for us to start with the training time. At first we wanted to start slow. Abused horses often take a while to gain trust again with humans, and lunging and all that free lunging really allowed us to gain a bond with him without getting too close or invading his personal space at the time. He acted actually really well, and he was starting to gain trust with us. It was slow progress, but it was progress, and baby steps are really, really important. After a little while, though, we were starting to be able to see his true personality, and he was actually a cute, goofy horse with a lot of quirks. He actually made us crack up so many times because he would do silly things out in the pasture, and the staff began adoring this new pony called Pepper. He was actually super sweet, and it was time for me to do tact desensitization. I was able to figure out what emotions he had, if he was angry, happy, or even downright annoyed. A month after all of this groundwork, I finally was able to get on his back. With my helper Mavis leading him around, we were able to learn a lot more about how he would do under saddle, but he was so fantastic I couldn't help but fall in love with him. In fact, a couple weeks later I was able to start riding him on my own, and his trust was building. For a rescue horse, he was growing really fast. At first I did it in full western gear because I felt safe in the western saddle, and I had thick chaps on and a thick vest on to make sure in case I fell or any accidents happened. I was very, very cautious around handling him, but after a while he gained my trust and I gained his, and I was able to ride in an English saddle and just light protective gear like a helmet and such, because I started to feel more confident around him, and he had actually done quite a few things to prove himself. He had handled a lot of spooky situations and had kept his cool whenever something bad happened, and I started to think that maybe he could be a really, really great horse for our lesson program. Of course, though, he was still so green. I also learned a lot about him. Turns out his favorite color is definitely not pink, according to this photo. For a while, though, I realized I just didn't have the time and energy to fully devote into this horse, and although his basics were there, it was time for me to call on someone who would have the time. This was Maggie. Now, she may look like your typical 12-year-old Norwegian rider who hasn't shown anything more than the classic egg and spoon competitions at your local gincana and has a Congo of over 46 Chickalina models in her Breyer collection, but she is a lot more than that. In fact, she has enough experience under her belt to handle these abused horses, so I trusted her to build a bond with Pepper to make sure that he would thrive under many different situations and conditions. She was actually the leader of many of her pony clubs, and she had showed in so many pony competitions with her pony Chester, so I trusted that she would be able to handle Pepper in every possible way. And their first jumping lesson didn't really go to plan. He was great and everything, but turned out that Pepper hated jumping. And he didn't just hate it, he was horrible at it. Absolutely horrific. She tried him in everything, small ground poles, cross rails, anything that he would have to lift a leg over. That's not going to happen with Pepper. She was a little bit disappointed because show jumping was her thing, but she thought she would try other things as well. So she trailered him out to cross country. And, well, he thrived under it, actually. It was interesting to see how this horse was so different outside of the arena, and we started to assume it was because there was freedom and there was space for him to grow, and that was something he hadn't experienced in his former abused life. In fact, he was absolutely incredible at cross country, and he loved jumping over the logs and running through the fields. It was something I think we saw him all enjoying, and after that, he was able to thrive in a lot of separate conditions as well, even though he was still a little lazy. He loved bonding time with Maggie. In fact, they did many bareback trail rides, which was another thing he loved because of the freedom. And they found themselves becoming very close very fast. She owned him at this point for about 4 months when she took him to Western Day at her local pony club, where they got to experience Western as well, which was really adorable. Of course, though, as an abused horse, Pepper required his alone time and space. He was still a bit traumatized, and so it was important that she gave him his space to do his own thing. He spent a lot of time out in the pasture and stalls just resting and enjoying life. That is until they joined the first dressage lesson. They did a group dressage lesson at the riding hall, and they found out that Pepper adored dressage. Anything with little half passes or leg yields, something that was basic yet challenging enough to keep him going, he loved. And that's when Maggie decided that it'd probably be best to have his first show as a schooling show with a dressage pattern. That is why they trained for the next couple months just on the flat, doing basics and getting Pepper confident enough to show off his skills at a local event. At this point, Maggie had owned him for about 8 months, or at least he had been out of abuse for roughly 8 to 9 months. On the day of Pepper's first show was absolutely beautiful. It was sunny and warm, and it was roughly August or so kind of the fall time, but it was perfect weather for a show to be happening, and it was just calm enough for Pepper to be relaxed. Thus, Maggie braided up his mane, and she got everything ready, even setting up and shining up all the tack she had and packing it away into the trailer, which was freshly cleaned and filled with warm, cozy hay. The grounds themselves were taking place at the Norwegian Stadium, where they had a dressage arena set up, and it was pony showing day, meaning that there were other ponies and riders just like them. It was a perfect environment for Pepper to have his first show and to show off the skills that he had learned all the time. This time they had to wait, though, for many hours, but finally they got called on. Nervous, but they were ready to prove themselves in the show ring. I mean, Pepper had worked so hard, and Maggie had worked so hard to train him all these things. She was ready to see his progress. Thus they bowed, and off they went. They did impeccable. The judges were so impressed with this rescue pony who had come up from an abusive past to become a horse that was confident in the show ring. His head up high, he was ready, not nervous necessarily, but alert. He was always looking for the next challenge, hit every lead, all his transitions were on point, and Maggie was so proud of this horse that she had put so much energy into. She was also proud of herself too, though, because she had worked so hard to make sure this worked out for him. Overall, their success was impeccable, and they looked absolutely fantastic in the dressage ring. Hitting every point, she gave her final bow, and off they went. She was so happy with their progress, but sadly this was their first and last show, because Maggie had to go separate ways. Thank you all so much, everyone. You all are the most supportive fans I've ever met. You are incredible. After being gone for a while, you all were so concerned and asking where I was, hoping I wasn't sick. Thank you all so much for that concern. That means the world to me, and I'm so sorry for not being more active. My computer went down, my Instagram I can't log into, so it's just kind of been a mess, but I got a gaming computer, ooh, and I just want to thank you all for opening and welcoming me back with open arms. I have my new Instagram link down below, so go ahead and check that out. You all were so welcoming with that. You shouted me out and everything. I appreciate you all so much, and thank you so much for being so supportive to this channel. I hope you really like this coming back video. I did a lot of editing into this one, and I tried out some new things, and it may be a little laggy or pixelated. I'm trying to work on that right now, but I hope you really enjoyed it in general. This story, instead of vlog style, I really have more fun making, and I was really glad that it turned out pretty well. And I even was able to connect it to another story that I made in the past, if you saw that at the end. But yeah, thank you all so much. I appreciate you all, bottom and top. Okay, I should probably go now. Remember to comment, like, and subscribe, and see you all next time. Bye!